You convince yourself it's over. You tell the story enough times to others or in your head that it starts sounding like memory. Clean, linear, reasonable, but deep down, your body never agreed. You might have forgotten the guilt or thought you did, but your nervous system hasn't. It never signed that contract of amnesia. Your hands still sweat in rooms with certain smells. You avoid certain songs without knowing why. And you tell yourself it's just coincidence that you don't like looking in mirrors when the light is too sharp. Because guilt doesn't scream. It whispers. And when ignored for too long, it changes voice. Sometimes it sounds like tiredness. You say you're exhausted, burned out, overwhelmed, but what you're really avoiding is the silence. Because silence brings memory, and memory brings the question you've been dodging for years. What did I actually do? Not what you said you did. Not what people believed. Not what you edited for your own survival, but what you did and what part of you still knows it, because guilt has a timeline of its own, and it doesn't follow yours. You start to notice it in strange moments. You're standing in line at the store, and suddenly your chest tightens, not from anxiety, not from panic, but something older. A pressure that doesn't match the situation. Something in the background has been watching you, waiting. It happens again when you're alone in the bathroom, brushing your teeth. The mirror flickers, and for a second, you don't recognize the person in it. You stare at your own face like it's a mask worn too long, like your skin is borrowed. You try to shake it off. You tell yourself, that was years ago. You say, people do worse things. You whisper, I didn't mean it like that. But the thing about guilt is it doesn't care about justifications. It doesn't care about timelines. It doesn't even care if you are technically innocent. It only cares that you think you weren't. And so it starts shifting the world around you. You see familiar faces and imagine what they would say if they knew. You play out conversations that never happened, confessions whispered in dreams you don't remember. You wake up sweating, not from nightmares, but from almost truths. Your subconscious replays on loop. You catch yourself hesitating before telling certain stories, skipping over one sentence, one detail, a laugh that comes out too loud, too forced. The way you dodge certain people, even when they haven't done anything wrong, because being around them feels wrong. It's not punishment. It's not fear of being caught. It's worse. It's the knowledge that you caught yourself a long time ago, but you let it slide. That's what makes it guilt, not just regret. Regret wants to rewind. Guilt knows it can't, so it rewrites the present. You don't sabotage yourself because you hate yourself. You sabotage yourself because somewhere deep inside, you think you deserve it. And that belief, that buried unspoken judgment, it's running everything. It's no longer about what happened. It's about what it did to the architecture of your mind. You wake up every day feeling like you missed something, a step, a rule, a cosmic checkpoint you didn't even know existed. The room is the same. The people are the same, but the air is heavier. There's no judge, no jury. No one blames you except the part of yourself that never stopped. You smile, you laugh, you function. You get through meetings, you reply to messages, you go out when invited, and yet something always feels slightly off, as if reality doesn't fully let you in anymore. You don't see a prison, but you feel the walls. They show up in the smallest of ways. You turn down good opportunities because you're not ready. You leave messages on read because you wouldn't know what to say. You ruin your own moments of joy because right as you start to feel happiness, your body tightens, your stomach twists, and your mind whispers. You don't get to feel this, not after what you did. So you shrink, you lower the volume on your success. You keep people at a distance. You let good things fall apart slowly, then act surprised when they do as if you didn't loosen the bolts yourself. You think you're being humble, but what you're really doing is punishing yourself in ways that no one else can see. You don't hit yourself. You don't scream at the mirror. You just withdraw little by little from the parts of life that still feel warm. And the scariest part, You start to feel safe in that numbness. Because if you're numb, you can't be hurt. And if you're not reaching for happiness, you can't lose it. This is what guilt does when left to grow without release. It mutates, it goes underground. It stops being an emotion and becomes a worldview. You don't feel guilty. You become guilt itself. You wear it like a second skin, invisible to others but painfully obvious to you. Every compliment feels unearned. Every success feels temporary. Every touch, every kiss, every hug feels like it's meant for someone better, someone else. You become an actor in your own life. And the role you play best is the one where you pretend nothing's wrong while something inside quietly erodes. And one day you realize you're not being haunted by what you did. You're haunted by who you became because of it. You think guilt fades, that with enough time, enough distance, enough silence, it will soften into something manageable. But guilt isn't an open wound. It's a parasite. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It waits. It adapts. And then, one day, you find yourself making life decisions around it without even realizing. You say no to things that could have made you happy. You drift away from people who once felt safe. You sabotage the kind of love that would have actually stayed. You think you're protecting them. But in truth, you're just preserving the sentence you secretly believe you deserve. And here's the twisted part. The longer you carry that guilt, the more you start to believe it was meant to be. You confuse punishment with destiny, pain with clarity, loneliness with balance, as if the universe is finally even now. You don't seek redemption. You seek equilibrium, a life that feels just barely tolerable enough to match what you believe you've done. You live in half homes. You love in half measures. You dream in half colors. Because in the back of your mind, something always tells you, you don't get the whole thing. And you listen. You might call it humility. Others might call it self-awareness. But deep down, you know the truth. It's guilt still there, shaping your voice, your choices, your entire trajectory. You're not the same person anymore, and not because you've grown, because you've been reconstructed around the crime, around the mistake, around the shame. It becomes your blueprint. It decides what kind of love you accept, what kind of success you reject, what kind of silence you sleep in at night, the heavy, quiet kind, where no one accuses you because no one even knows what you've hidden. And yet, it's always there. In the way your smile never quite reaches your eyes, in the way you change the subject when someone asks what you really want, in the way you lower your voice when speaking about your past, as if even your memories are ashamed to exist. This is what repressed guilt does. It builds a future where you survive, but you never really arrive. You don't plan anymore, you drift. You don't reach anymore, you settle. You don't love fully, you perform love, carefully, cautiously, quietly, hoping no one gets too close. Because if they do, if they ever really see you, they'll know. They'll feel the weight behind your laughter. They'll hear the hesitation in your kindness. They'll see that you've been carrying something far too heavy for far too long, and that guilt hasn't just lived inside you. It has become you. And unless you name it, confront it, unravel it, it always will. It's not the event that breaks you. It's what you never say about it. What you never allow yourself to feel. What you bury so deep that it begins to shape your posture, your tone, your very identity until you can no longer tell where you end and the guilt begins. People look at you and see someone functional, someone calm, maybe even strong. But they don't realize that every word you speak is filtered through a courtroom inside your head. That before you say anything, a voice asks, do you deserve to say this? Do you deserve peace? Do you deserve to be heard? And most days, you silently answer no. That's the punishment. That's the prison. Not the act, but the lifelong self-erasure that follows. You shrink in every room you enter. You soften your truth so they don't sound too confident. You hide your talent so no one accuses you of being too proud. You give away your energy like it costs nothing because deep down, you believe you owe something to life, to fate, to the person you hurt, to the part of you that you killed in silence. And so you make yourself small, polite, harmless. You become someone people admire, but no one really knows. Someone who listens, who helps, who smiles in the right moments, but never asks anything real for themselves. Because asking would mean believing you deserve it. And you don't. Not fully, not deeply. Because even if no one else remembers what you did, you do. And that memory isn't just a flashback. It's a blueprint. You built your life around it. You chose people who wouldn't challenge it. You stayed in jobs that didn't require you to shine. You avoided love that demanded emotional honesty because honesty would mean opening that locked door, the one where the truth still screams. But the truth doesn't fade. It ferments. It becomes bitterness in your kindness, fear in your joy, distance in your intimacy. It makes your life feel almost free, almost fulfilled, almost alive, but never quite, because a part of you still lives in that moment, in that silence, in that unbearable awareness that what you did or didn't do changed something permanently. And if you're honest, you don't even want forgiveness. Not really, because forgiveness might free you. And freedom would mean responsibility, again, choices, desire, future. And you're not sure you know how to live anymore without the guilt guiding you. So you stay, not punished by others, but by yourself, quietly, completely, not in chains, but in the worst prison of all, a life shaped entirely by the belief that you don't deserve a better one.